Thought I'd show you guys a little trick here. This is the driver's side. Get the wheels pointing all the way to the left so that I can get in here with a breaker bar. As this the old blue Loctite is really tight in there. Makes it a whole lot easier getting these bolts out. So I just got this bracket off. Pin came out nice and simply. This one, on the other hand, you can see covered in rust. All rusted up in there too. This all has to get thoroughly cleaned before I can put it back together. So I'm just going to set this in here for right now. Alright, let's get back to it. Alright, with the bracket out the way, we can go ahead and take our rotor off, which is nice and stuff. Dead blow makes the job easier. Take our rotor off, get it out the way. Now with the rotor out the way, I'm going to disconnect the brake hose. I'm just going to disconnect it right down here for now. I have a new hose to go on here, and that will involve taking this out from up here, which I have no way of sealing off right now. So I'll take it out of the block. Take our new rotor. Now your new rotors always have a film on there protecting them from rusting. So before we actually run this, I've got to make sure to shoot down front and back with some brake cleaner. So for now though, we can go rebuild that caliper. Caliper here, just a block of wood. I'm going to put it over here on the other side of the pistons. Because when these pistons pop through here, they're going to do so with some force, and I don't want to damage them nor lose them. You see our brake caliper here. First thing I do is put a bolt in the hole. It doesn't have to be a perfect sized bolt. I'm just using it to hold that in place while you force the pistons out. And I'm going to take the bleeder screw here off. Alright, next part, redoing our brakes here, we're going to go ahead and get the brake hose completely off. It's a 7/16 up here, and I would recommend, if you've got one, use a flare nut wrench, because you do not want to strip this out. Now we need to unbolt her off of here, and we can remove the entire brake line assembly here. There's a bolt right here, get out. Alright, brake line out. Take our new Rebestos brake line, here we go. Our new line up in place. Before I do that, I'm just going to spray in there with some brake cleaner. Start my bolt here. Make sure you get this up behind your other old hose or the coiled hose, and then start it up by hand. That way you don't have to worry about cross-threading it. We're going to want to go ahead and clean our holder, get it back on. Oh, this one's not threaded. Alright, so I guess I'm not going to put that back in. I could thread that later or put a bolt on the back, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Let's go ahead and get our brake line tightened down. Make sure you're not cross-threading anything. And these don't have to get torqued super tight. Let me go ahead and bolt the bracket back on. As you can see, I've cleaned the bracket and all up here. I didn't really have a choice. there was quite a bit of rust down in here. I actually had to drill down through it and then take some quad-aught steel wool, get in there and really polish it up in order to clean this. But I think it came out pretty well. So now what I'll go ahead and do is bolt the bracket back in place so that I can start working on getting the new calipers in. Alright, now I'm going to get my 21 mil, tighten these down. These are some big bolts, so they're going to need some real torque. Alright. Make sure nothing's interfering with the rotor. Very good. So we got to get our clips in here, which thankfully my new pads and all came with new clips. New clips and new rubbers. I love it. Alright, so the clips took me a minute to figure out here. But I see how they go on now. So they go in place on the pad. So what happens is that when the pad pushes in, these are little spring clips that actually force it back out. They're match sets. Notice they don't go in the exact same direction. They're mirror copies. So we put one down here. And of course I'm going to grease all this first before I actually bolt it all back together. And then the other one will go up here. And it seems to me that it's much easier if you put it on the pad first. Then you can put it in. Now these shouldn't slide in there. They're supposed to clip on there. So I just need grease here, 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 and down there. So let me go ahead and put my pads here together. You'll also notice the clips, when you go to put them on, they only fit one way. I personally like that. Makes it a little more obvious when you're trying to figure out, because the instructions they give you are pretty much useless. The pictures look absolutely nothing like these. Right. Now as far as the squealers go, I can't figure out how they go on. So if anybody out there has any idea, I'd love to hear it. I'm not going to worry about them. I'll just inspect my brakes. I'm going to use my calcium sulfonate grease with this, because I love calcium sulfonate grease. The nice thing about this is a little bit goes a long way. Alrighty, let's get a set of pads in place. You can see they'll slide on there nice and smooth. Alright. Next step, so we get our new pins and hardware and all in. These came with the caliper. Funny thing is, this came with all new clips as well. And still no instructions on how they go together. Love it. Love that. But hey, it's got new bolts and all. That's nice. Alright, so these new pins are going to get greased. And then I've got to put these, I got to grease the pins, put the new rubbers on there. So I'm going to slide the rubbers up in. So it's going to get a little bit more grease. And I'm going to apply grease directly into the hole, as well as put a film of it on the sliding pin, which will just help me slide the rubber up on there a little easier. That's all. Now the real fun on these is getting the rubber on both of these, on both ends. Come on. That in place, you can move on to the next one. Now we'll take our fresh caliper. You always tell which side's which because your bleeder should be at the top of the body. Alright, let's get this in place. Fresh bolts. I do like that it comes with new bolts. No good reason why, I just do. It's just a nice touch. We'll go ahead and tighten down these bolts here. them in, get them in good and tight. Crush washers here. We put these to use with our brand new hose here. So I'll get the banjo bolt. Get the original banjo bolt back. That's a bit of a mess, so I'm going to go clean it. Make sure we get our new crush washers in. Feed our line down into place. Get that good and tight. Alright. Next step will be to go ahead and throw our bracket back in place. That's one side put back together now. Much better. See? Nothing riding on there at all. Sounds like I can hold that in place. So of course we still got to do the other side, and then I've got to actually... Good enough. Just want to make sure I don't have any tension on this hose. The next step will be to go ahead and do the other side, and then we've got to fill the master cylinder back up and start bleeding it all. Brakes are bedded in, and you can see centrifugal force in action. I'd actually WD-40'd. I clean all the bolts when I'm working on any of my vehicles. I clean these and I WD-40'd them, and you can see where it's throwing the WD-40 out. That makes me laugh a little. But the brakes, see, you can see them back here, peeking through ever so gently. Brakes peeking through back there. Everything looks good. Brake hose is fine. Wanted to point out that this metal is actually soft enough the bolts will thread themselves through, so I did put the little hangers on both sides. You can see a new brake hose. The brake hose fits fine. I don't know what that guy was talking about on Amazon about these Rebestos brake lines interfering. They don't interfere with anything at all. See new calipers and all in there. Can't really see the back of the rotor, but you can kind of see the vents. Here's the brake rotor, slotted in, drilled. Keeb's going to be heading out and picking up a C10 at some point. I'll be taking the F250 down, so I wanted to get the brakes and all done. Next weekend, I'm actually going to redo the oil cooler in there. It has clogged up on me again. I'm not happy about that, but what can you do? Don't want to spend the $3 grand on a BPD kit yet. Video started out, it was supposed to be a little video on rebuilding the brake calipers. I'm unhappy I wasn't able to go that route. The guy who was supposed to ship me the piston just never got around to dropping it in the mail. I'm on a timetable. I ordered it over a week ago and he hasn't even shipped it yet. So yeah, I'm less than pleased about that. I think it was My Auto Supplier on Amazon. Can't recommend them. But yeah, there you go. New brakes on the F250, at least the front end. We'll do the rear end probably in a month or two down the line. So thanks for watching. If the video was helpful, please think about subscribing, liking, all that jazz. You know how this works. Thanks again.